State, rounding out the 6 in the East. And over in the Western Division, Kentucky State picked to finish first, followed by Tuskegee, Central State, Lane, the defending conference champs, tournament champs, Miles, Lemoyne-Owen, and Spring Hill, rounding out the 7. So you have 13 teams in the SIAC playing basketball on the women's side. And the preseason player of the year, Ayanna Bay from Benedict, is the preseason player of the year. And the preseason defensive player of the year, and I hope I don't get these young ladies wrong, Nigella Shamsiddin. Nyla, it's probably Nyla, it's probably a silent J. Nyla Shamsiddin. So, Miss Dean, I hope I didn't mess you. And she's a Miles College student. And so, of course, Ayanna Bay, forward at Benedict, she's a junior from Blackwood, New Jersey, was actually selected to the first team as a forward. And Shamsiddin is actually on the second team. She's a guard from Miles, a senior from Stone Mountain, Georgia. As I'm going through the list of names here, should I go through the whole list of names, first team and second team, AD, or kind of keep it moving?
First team, but I don't think we need to go through any further than that till we get to the basketball preview.
I got you. So with the first team, the rest of the first team players on the women's side, Tiffany Valentine, who she was a returner from the all-conference team at the end of last year, a forward from Spring Hill, a redshirt senior from Houston, Texas, Alicia Franklin, and actually all 5 of these first-team players were selected to the all-conference team last year. Should note that. Alicia Franklin, a guard from Fort Valley State, a senior from Atlanta, Georgia. Reagan Jackson, a guard from Clark, Atlanta. She's a sophomore from Chesapeake, Virginia. And then Keandra Archie, a forward from Payne. She's a junior from Eastover, South Carolina. On the men's side, the tournament champs were the Miles Golden Bears from last year in the tournament, in the SIAC tournament. And Miles is actually preseason ranked number 1 in the Western Division, followed by Lemoyne-Owen, Lane, Kentucky State, Central State, Tuskegee, and Spring Hill. And that rounds out the 7 of the Western Division. Over on the east side, Morehouse comes in preseason ranked number 1, followed by Albany State, Clark, Atlanta, Savannah State, Benedict, Fort Valley State, and Payne. And that rounds out the 7. So I guess Albany State does not have a women's program, or at least maybe I won't speculate. I'll just say we don't have a women's program listed for them.
Albany State?
Women, yeah. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
They do.
No, they do. So wait a minute. Who's missing? Benedict, Fort Valley, obviously Morehouse. Duh. Okay. Come on. How did I not catch that? Anyway, let's move forward. The preseason player of the year, Robert Andrews from Morehouse. Mr. Andrews is a guard, a senior from Detroit, Michigan. He's a returning all SIAC conference player. And the preseason defensive player of the year is Romaine Thomas from Clark, Atlanta, and he made the second team. He's a forward, senior from the Bronx, Boogie Down, Bronx, New York. So the first team selections for the men, you had, of course, we mentioned Robert Andrews. You also had Devin Booker, a guard from Lemoyne-Owen. He's a sophomore from Chicago, Illinois. Tyrone Banks, a guard from Lemoyne-Owen, a senior from Memphis, Tennessee. Miles Thomas, the forward from Tuskegee. He's a senior from Tallahassee, Florida. And then James Eads, a guard forward from Tuskegee, a senior from my neck of the woods down here in Orlando, Florida. And so that is your preseason. Go to www.thesiac.com to see that full listing. And then quickly moving over to the CIAA, and again, the CIAAs came out in the beginning of October, And the 2019 men's and women's preseason teams each feature 6 returning players from last year's all-CIAA teams, led by Livingston guard Roger Ray and Virginia Union guard Sharika McNeil. Those are your preseason players. Bowie State men and Virginia Union women were picked by league coaches to win the North as well as finish atop the CIAA standings. The Fayetteville State women and Livingstone men were picked to win the Southern Division. The Virginia Union women, coached by Anne-Marie Gilbert, finished with a 28-3 record, 15-2 in the CIAA, winning both the CIAA regular season and tournament titles. The Lady Panthers finished 13th nationally in the WBCA coaches poll, earning a playoff berth as the number 2 seed in the Atlantic region. They advanced to the second round before falling to Indiana, Pennsylvania last year. And so, as mentioned, on the women's side, Virginia Union there finishing or selected first in the Northern Division, followed by Bowie State, Lincoln, PA, Elizabeth City State, and then Virginia State. And over on the south side, the Southern Division, Fayetteville State first, Johnson C. Smith second, Winston-Salem State third, Livingstone, Claflin, Shaw, and St. Aug were seventh. And so that was obviously how they broke down in the division. And for the men, it was Bowie State in the Northern Division, followed by Virginia State, Virginia Union, Elizabeth City State, and Lincoln, PA. And the Southern Division, it was Livingstone, Claflin, Shaw, Winston-Salem State, Fayetteville State, Johnson C. Smith, and St. Augustine. So that is a quick mention of the SIAC and the CIAA. I'm sure AD will get to jump into talking about the the MEAC, SWAC, and don't forget our friends at the GCAC and the NAIA. All right.
Yeah.
So AD, go ahead.
I just got one question.
Yes,
Brian.
yes.
Savannah State, according to what the SIAC has, looks like they can compete for the basketball championship, but they can't compete for the football championship. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Well, I don't know that to be true. Well, I don't have anything in here that says that is correct. We will have to contact our good friend Tyler Williams, and we'll have to speak to Ms. Williams and kind of see what the SIAC says about Savannah State. So we'll try to get an answer and see if we can find that out for next week. How about that?
That'll work.
All right, let's get to our first major game, our top 7 that we have ready to preview for this upcoming week. And we're going to start with number 5 in our BCSN poll, the West Virginia State Yellow Jackets taking on Urbana, Ohio. AD, what can you tell us about this game?
This is a game featuring the number 2 team in the conference, West Virginia State, who just happens to be a half game behind Notre Dame of Ohio, because Notre Dame's played one additional game than West Virginia State, and Urbana sits right behind West Virginia State with a 4-2 record, and all of those are conference games. Brian, the one thing that I love about this conference is it is a true round robin where everybody plays everybody in this particular conference. West Virginia State has a winning record right now. They're 5-1 after 2 6-5 seasons in Coach Pennington's third year, and excuse me there, Brian. And they're 5-1, 5-0 in Division Two, but they have they still have a tough stretch remaining ahead of them. 3 of their 5 games that they have remaining are against teams that are above 500. 2 teams who are right behind them in the conference, and of course Notre Dame of Ohio for the last game of the season, who is ahead of them in the conference standings. So that game, not without looking too far ahead, could potentially be for the conference championship, i.e. a conference championship game. West Virginia State, outstanding linebacker, outstanding quarterback, 2 outstanding receivers. They are a pass-first team. They have excellent passing game. And it's going to be an interesting game. Should be a good offensive game. And you'll hear a little bit about that coming up when I discuss with Coach Pennington not only their program, but what's going to happen in this particular game, Brian. This is going to be a real test for West Virginia State this week.
All right. So what are we? And we're making picks on this game, as this is one of our 7 games. Of course, West Virginia State coming in with a 3-game winning streak, and Urbana of Ohio with a 1-game winning streak, having won last week. I don't know statistically. What do we know statistically about Urbana?